Bloodborne is a game best experienced blind. Like your character, you've been dropped into this strange world without a clue as how or why any of this is happening. But that will all become clear as you continue to explore what has become of the once great city of Yharnam. You are summoned to a surreal, dreamlike world, given a selection of trick weapons and firearms to choose from, and told, don't think too hard about all of this, just go out and kill a few beasts. What really drew me into Bloodborne was the setting and atmosphere of its first major area, central Yharnam. A distorted Victorian-era London with grand, awe-inspiring cathedrals and Gothic architecture set to a soundtrack of hacking coughs and crackling flames. The citizens, stricken by plague, have lost their sanity and are undergoing a slow and agonizing metamorphosis into bloodthirsty beasts. You are given free rein to explore, gradually uncovering more of the story of how this hub of civilization was brought to its knees. Central Yharnam is your training ground. Here you'll come to grips with the game's combat and learn how best to use your trick weapon and firearm. Despite how it might seem, firearms don't actually do a lot of damage, and ammo is often in short supply, so it shouldn't be wasted firing blindly into enemies just to get them down a sliver of health. However, if fired at key moments, when your enemy has their weapon raised, poised to attack, you can stagger them, allowing for a high damaging visceral attack. This can take a bit of getting used to, but fortunately Bloodborne provides brick trolls to help you learn the system. However, opportunities to parry your enemy won't always come so easily, so you'll have to rely on your trick weapon. Each trick weapon has two modes you can switch between, a one-handed close range form that can be used in conjunction with your firearm, and a two-handed, typically slower but more damaging form with a wider variety of attacks. By sneaking up behind an enemy, you can perform a heavy backstab attack, which much like the parry with your firearm, grants you an opening for a visceral attack. A good starter weapon is the hunter's axe or the saw cleaver. However, I myself am a big fan of the whirligig because, just watch this. How can you not love that? Once you've gotten the hang of these systems, you'll eventually stop dying to every enemy you encounter, and be able to navigate the streets of Yharnam with confidence. That is, until you encounter one of two possible bosses. Regardless of who you run into first, the Cleric Beast and Father Gascoigne will test everything you've learnt so far. The Cleric Beast forces you to adapt to the rally system, in which you can recover some of your lost health by immediately attacking the enemy back, and in order to make the most of this system, you have to remain close to your prey. Bestial enemies like the Cleric Beast are much harder to parry than human enemies, so your strategy for facing them should be to stay close, dancing around them to dodge their attacks while hacking away at their back where they have less means of attacking you. Father Gascoigne, on the other hand, starts off as a human enemy and is the prime example of how a hunter should fight. You won't beat any boss in Bloodborne by being cowardly and hanging back. There are no shields and no good long-range weapons, so you have to get up close and personal, dodging their attacks while looking for openings to parry or backstab and deal massive visceral damage. Many new players will struggle with Father Gascoigne at first, as he acts as a tutorial for the rest of the game. If you continuously charge him blindly, you will only die again and again, having to make the long trek back from the nearest lantern, dodging through various enemies to reach him. But pick up what the game is trying to teach you and apply it, and you'll soon find yourself triumphant. The game rewards you with a rush of dopamine at having conquered a challenging foe, and now, equipped with this knowledge, you have the tools to face everything the game can throw at you, even if it might take a few tries, or maybe a lot more than a few. There are two major currencies in Bloodborne, the most important being blood echoes, earned from defeating enemies. These can be used to upgrade your character in the Hunter's Dream, and buy useful items such as bullets or blood vials for healing, though you should be careful, as they are lost upon death, and you are given only one chance to try and reclaim them before they disappear for good. The other currency is Insight, which is gained every time you encounter or defeat a boss. Upon gaining one insight, the doll in the Hunter's Dream will come to life, allowing you to trade your blood echoes with her for upgrades. There are a variety of different benefits to Insight, such as allowing the use of summons in boss fights, which helps if you're really struggling with a certain boss. Insight also increases your character's understanding of the world, which isn't always to your benefit. Some enemies have magic attacks which you can only perceive with high insight, meaning a low insight character is literally too dumb to be affected by certain attacks. Unlike Blood Echoes, insight isn't lost upon death. However, there is an enemy that can permanently suck the insight from out of your head, with no way of getting it back, leading to any encounter with this enemy being genuinely terrifying, as there are tangible, irreversible stakes to being killed by them. Thanks FromSoft! Now that you understand the gameplay, you might be asking, why would I ever play this? It sounds really stressful. Why do you have over 100 hours in it? What is wrong with you? And my answer to that would be the boss fights. Bloodborne is a cruel, punishing game in a doomed, miserable setting. But that being said, there is no feeling in any game I've played that's in any way comparable to the rush of landing the final blow on a challenging boss who's had me backed against the corner, stuck bashing my head against the wall for hours. Bloodborne is definitely not for everyone, especially if you play games to relax, as chances are it will get your blood pumping and your heart rate spiking through the roof when you finally got the boss down to a sliver of health, only for it to start an insta-kill attack you haven't quite learnt how to dodge yet. But if that sounds like it appeals to you, I recommend you give it a try, as it will be an experience you won't soon forget. If you stick with it and manage to get through the main game, I highly recommend the Old Hunters DLC, which somehow managed to make the main game look like easy mode. From the atmosphere and setting, to the combat and the boss fights. And the music, I didn't even mention the music, but I'm sure you have ears, just listen to that. Bloodborne truly is an unforgettable gaming experience, and maybe someday we'll get to see it in 60 FPS. Please Sony, please.